Now follows a public broadcast on behalf of Prime Minister Present Spending. Good evening, ladies and gents. Going to be a bit blunt here, but in case you haven't noticed, the moon has done gone exploded, and as I speak, 1,003 fragments are directly headed for this planet what we are currently on. The detritus is gargantuan, and will undoubtedly obliterate the surface of our Mother Earth. This has left the globe's best boffins baffled, bewildered and bamboozled. POI, or point of impact, is expected to occur in the region of Sudan. In 12 hours, the floor will burn from 2 miles deep, and the seas will rise into gigantic tsunamis that will flood the land. Anything which survives this catastrophe will be subject to a worldwide toxic dust cloud that will suffocate all vegetation and throats. In short, the world as we know it is doomed. So what to do with the subsequent 720 minutes, I hear you holler? Do what you like, see if I care. I hereby relieve all public servants of their duties and encourage private employers to do likewise. If the more unruly of you can't maintain an acceptable level of decorum, well, not much I can do about that really, is there? Personally, I intend to spend the time with my family. Well, fillies and peeps, this, I suppose, is the proverbial it. Shame all that's had to happen during this administration's tenure, still, there you are. When the sun rises tomorrow morning, there won't be much left of this civilisation's achievements. Perhaps billions of years from now, some industrious amoeba will have evolved into a far more functional society than we have now, and we will shake our fists from the heavens and lament, "Gee, I wish we'd have thought of that." Well, not much left to say now, I suppose, except...
Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. Cheerio, here I go on my way. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. Not to tear, but to cheer, make me gay. Give me a smile I can keep all the while in my heart while I'm away. Till we meet once again, you or die. Cheerio, here I go on my way. Cheerio, here I go on my way.
The happy smiling germ stood atop Breeden on the hill, with the smell of rotting orchids orbiting his nostrils. His trainers were dangling over the edge of the quarry. He stared down blankly at the hard ground some 400.16 feet beneath.
I do hope there isn't an afterlife.
He thought.
Life was more than enough.
He stepped off. Of course, the question arises with imminent annihilation pending. Would you seek to do something you knew you liked, or something you'd always wanted to do but had never tried? For example, Abraham Didcot would never before have favoured such a deliberation, but now he found no dilemma in stuffing a load of dogs into a cannon and lighting the fuse with a match clenched between his bitch tits. While there was certainly no moral quandary for a gaggle of frenzied medical students who, angered by the dormant reprisal of their elected representatives, took it upon themselves to hunt down Prime Minister Present Spending, surgically amputate his arms and legs, and sew his eyes and mouth shut. He thought of his family whilst shivering on the floor. Poor chap. The happy smiling germ cascaded 200 feet through vigorous winds and tactile missiles of not knowing what to expect, when Reg the propeller and Christine Domingo swooped in and fastened themselves to his little red and yellow hat, rescuing him from certain death. They floated him gently down to the ground below.
What did you do that for?
Protested the happy smiling germ. We're saving you, assured Christine Domingo. Plus, there's not much point. The world's about to end, said Reg.
Eh?
Explanation!
Righto, well, thanks.
No problem. So what now? Inexplicably spruced up, the happy smiling germ suggested.
Let's have a sing-song.
Perfect. I'll get the crowds, offered Christine Domingo. I'll bake the cakes, said Reg. They scarpered off in every direction. A lot of folk decided to ignore the impending doom altogether. Reverend Severance, however, tried to get back to his family in Limerick, only to behold the abominable spectacle of an airport runway strewn with ruined bodies and aircraft. He witnessed in horror as several Boeing 787s, piloted by spirited civilians, lifted only a few hundred feet off the ground, or clumsily plummeting back down to Earth. So instead, he decided it would be best to pig out on loads of yummy grub, like mushroom halloumi sandwiches, and chips with mayo, and banoffee pie, and tons of cheesecakes. Yummo! Concurrently, amateur underwater demolitions expert Jeff in Every Sense decided the best course of action was to go for a pleasant stroll, during which he beheld the burning sky. Afterwards, he had a cry, a curry, and a fiddle, in that very order. Miss Mormon grasped his gut with trepidation, knowing this would be his greatest challenge. He got within spitting distance of the sun, which the sun interpreted as implying, "Tara, senor sun, for hate's sake I spit my breath at thee." After which, he sucked harder than he'd ever sucked before, and the sun began to edge towards his gargantuan gob. Alas, however, the sun were just a tad too spicy, even for Miss Mormon's massive mouth. Beasts have their limits too, I suppose. After a few more feeble efforts, the sun, holding Miss Mormon at arm's length, pitied.
"There are some things you cannot consume."
Oh dearie dreary me, thought Miss Mormon.
"Don't worry, lad. If it's any consolation, you never had a chance. Do you even remember why you're angry?" "I didn't think so."
The sun put his arm around Miss Mormon, which kind of stung a bit, but in a comforting way.
"Like my daddy always used to say, we might be a bit different, but we're all in this together."
Miss Mormon thought about this for a moment. "Fuck off," said Miss Mormon.
"I beg your pardon?"
replied the sun. "You heard me, you preachy condescending prick. You think you know better?"
"Of course I know better. I'm the sun."
Whoop-de-fucking-do. One in an infinite trillion million, mate. You think you can relate to the masses, to the common man anymore? I've seen it all before with Bismarck and Nietzsche. You've lost touch. Your condescension only breeds more condescension, speaking down to folk like children, so as not to offend their tiny minds, which provides them with the role of the idiot, who need to be treated as such. But ultimately, you've got no more idea what's going on in this mass expansive universe than anyone else does. You've just gotten good at blagging. Although you are correct in one respect, we are all in this together, because sooner or later, every last one of us is a dunce when it comes to why we're here, death, and what happens afterwards. No one has a fucking clue. So to summarise, fuck off. Esme Kipper approached the garrison where her brother was being held. There were many guards guarding the POWs. She had to improvise, so she split this guard apart. She snapped this guard in half, and kicked this t'other sentinel into the sea. She found her brother Carl Kipper in a small hut, playing rummy for pebbles with some lepers. "You're right, Esme. What are you doing here?" "Lads, this is me sister. I've come to rescue you." "What for? The world's ending in a few hours." "Eh?"
"Explanation!"
"Oh, righto. Your voice sounds a bit croaky." "Oh well, I haven't spoken since you were sent east." "Why on earth not?" "Deference, I suppose. Shall I rescue you now?" "Not now. I'm up to 200 bits of gravel already." "What would you have me do then?" "Whatever you want, so long as it's legal and you do it within the next several hours." "Okie dokie." Fulfilling his residual desire, Deputy Pending awayed to bed with his second wife, Anne May, under a cosy electric blanket. This, unfortunately, sat in direct opposition to the final wishes of his son, Desmond, which was to spray his father in the mouth with a hosepipe, while singing O mio babino caro at the top of his feisty lungs. Ad interim, Dave the Bear beat the bees and stole the honey, and if I hear one more word about it, I swear I'm going to kill somebody. Ba-sing! Incidentally, Carl did eventually teeth the lot off those scumbag ailing pariahs. Sorry, excuse me. Esme Kipper wandered off. She meandered for ages, kicking stones along the path. After a while, she noticed more and more folk were passing her, on their way to somewhere, towards music. "Excuse me," she asked one transitory lady, "where's everybody going? What is that music?" "Oh, that's the Happy Smiling Germ. He's playing us out for the end of the world." "Hey, aren't you Esme Kipper?" "Why, yes I am." "Zowie, what are the chances?" I'm sorry? "The Happy Smiling Germ's dedicated the show to you." "Really? I didn't know he cared." She approached and liked what she was hearing. The Happy Smiling Germ saw her and asked if she would join him. the detritus fell at the crescendo of the sun, Esme Kipper and the happy smiling germ had a kiss. The crowd gave a big old cheer. The floor began to burn from 2 miles deep. And Esme Kipper sneezed. Achoo! Bless you.